we go. Mm. Mm. Where's the okay, thing, this little creature?
I can't tell you whether your life is worth living, but I can tell you that there are a lot of people you can help if you stick around, and if you commit suicide, you're walking out on all the people you could be helping. Okay, that's like the worst. That. Nah, fuck that. That's cringe, I think. Unless you've got like children, sure, but. Everyday life for many people is mundane, and that mundane existence isn't one that people today want to live. I mean, I disagree. I think that there are other reasons why people think they don't want that lifestyle. Um, I feel like that comes from a lot of social programming as well. There might be, if we watch the rest of the video around this, maybe he pads this out a bit more. What could be an example of a rational suicide? Um, I think most of it would come down to like medical stuff. Like if you legitimately had like chronic pain and it was making you miserable for the rest of your life or something, then I could understand you wanting to die. How do you explain the higher rates of suicide? Is it mostly correlated to people are being mentally ill? Well, my guess is going to be it's undiagnosed. That'd be my guess. That the depression is undiagnosed. So it wouldn't surprise me if most people that kill themselves aren't diagnosed with depression, but they probably have something else going on. They just don't have diagnosed, and you can't really.
Don't know. Rational. Spooky.
Autopsy a person's brain for. So, except the rest of life will be miserable and lonely whilst watching everyone else have kids and wives and live happy lives whilst being a loser working for 18 bucks an hour at a dead end job. Yeah, I think that there's like other stuff. I mean, like there are other things you can do with your life. I just the problem is that I think I think the thing that would drive you to suicide there isn't like a rational analysis of your life. It's that there's other things socially that are pushing you to feel
Yeah, it would be the existence of the better thing.
unfulfilled or unhappy or something else like that. I think that's like the issue. Because so for instance, like the easiest example of this is what you might consider a mundane horrible life. A lot of people throughout time and history and even on the planet today would kill to be in your position. Like if you were to go to some kid in some fucked country where it's either starving or ravaged by civil wars or standards of living are so low, and they're like, listen, you can swap places with this American person, but I gotta warn you, your life is going to be quite mundane. They'll be like,
They would
okay,
get.
and like I'll do that in a heartbeat, right? So I think that if you feel suicidal, it's not because you're doing some rational analysis. There's a lot of like social factors at play here too. Not to say that that doesn't make the social factors fake. Like, you can still definitely have those feelings, and the social factors are willing to drive you in that direction. But yeah.
Know what my life
Would it
is
not just be a byproduct of social media allowing enough? I'm sorry. Allowing people to view other successes, having a shit enough life while seeing everyone else doing well type of shit. Yeah, I think that could be a big thing that would play into it. 100%, yes. But then it just depends on what you consider a rational analysis or not, I guess. Like, let's say somebody...
Yeah, if you gave it enough importance, it would be rational.
They're like, I'm coming to kill you tomorrow, and it's going to be excruciatingly painful. And let's say there's no reason to believe that person, but for some reason you do, and then you kill yourself. Is that a rational decision? Well, it really depends on what we mean by rational at that point, right? Because it is rational if you believe that to be the case. Maybe it would be rational to kill yourself. But if you have no reason to believe that to be the case, or if a better form of analysis would change some of your premises, well, now it becomes irrational. It depends, I guess, on how we define rational here.
like, how does he have any right to complain? And even your mind will tell you this. You'll look at these people and you'll be like, yeah, I don't have a right to complain. But now we need to stop for a second and think about what it does to your psychology when you as a human being are not allowed to articulate your suffering. I've worked with people who've grown up in abusive households where children will say to their parents, Mommy, Daddy, I'm hurting. And the parent smacks them across the face. How dare you? You're so lucky. You don't realize the sacrifices I make for you. It's traumatizing to the child when they say, I am suffering and no one listens. This is what we're doing to the generation of men. People are saying, realize the sacrifices I make for you. It's traumatizing.
I'm aware that I watched this whole video before on stream. Now we have little tiny jumping in.
To the child, when they say, I am suffering and no one listens. This is what we're doing to the generation of men. People are saying, I am suffering. For 100 years, men have been killing themselves. 80% of suicides are men. The most dangerous thing for a man under 45 is themselves.
I believe this is, I think this goes back, maybe this is not true anymore. I think this goes back to the thing that women are actually just as many suicidal ideations as men, but they don't go through it. They actually contact someone or change the environment.
And these people have been literally killing themselves because no one has been listening to them. So in the same way that you grow up with as a child in a household that's abusive, where no one takes you seriously, no one listens to your suffering, and now we even have successful men who are not allowed to complain. So the psychological impact is the same. Anytime you have a human being who is suffering in some way and they cannot find connection with another human being, they cannot find compassion with another human being, that person is going to feel isolated. And if you look at the statistics on suicide, it's very interesting. So the number one thing that correlates with male suicide is not depression, and this is super scary. There's one study I saw recently that suggests that 50% of men who kill themselves have no history or evidence of mental illness. And this, I believe the statistic in my clinical practice because I know what depression looks like, I know what bipolar disorder looks like, and half the men that I've worked with, at least, are not actually mentally ill. See, mental illness means a pathology of the mind, which means that the mind is malfunctioning. Most of the suicidal men that I work with, their mind isn't malfunctioning. They genuinely have a life that is no longer worth living. They're looking at things and objectively realizing that there's no way out of the situation. So they turn to suicide. So I know it's kind of like a very controversial statement, but I think that's what my clinical practice has shown, and there's some research to even back that up. So if we sort of look at what's going on with men, we're sort of, they have nowhere to turn to, and the number one thing that correlates with it is not mental illness, but is a sense of thwarted belongingness. So this is kind of like multivariate regression analysis. But basically what happens is what causes people to kill themselves is they try to connect with others and they get rejected. So it's specifically a very specific research term called thwarted belongingness. So I try to belong to a group, and that group, or multiple groups usually, will thwart my attempts to join the tribe, to join the community. And this is what actually correlates a lot with suicidality. So what's going on with men right now is that we really don't allow them to suffer, because then you're not manly. And we're so externalized with our attention that we're not connecting with ourselves. And so we're looking to other people to tell us what it means to be a man. But that may or may not work for you, right? That may have been what worked for them. So then we kind of get into this problem where we're disconnected from ourselves. And then the world doesn't accept us. We're not allowed to suffer. And that's what creates the problem.
What is the remedy to this?
If something horrible happened to you, God forbid, thanks for putting that in. Like paralysis, do you think you'd eventually get over and accept it, or would you want someone to euthanize you? I mean, right now I feel like I'd want somebody to euthanize me. But I mean, like I said, all the
The mind would be acclimated.
data shows that even if bad things happen, eventually you just kind of get used to it. So, yeah. Yeah, I feel like we really people used to meet people a lot more in real life. Again, I know everybody wants to talk about feminism or red pill or I don't know, whatever, woke shit or whatever. I really do think that the internet has fundamentally changed so many different ways about how the world works and how we relate to people and everything else. And I feel like people don't talk about that as much as they should be. Maybe because the internet change happened like both gradually and incredibly quickly at the same time, such that like as more and more internet stuff was introduced, we didn't really notice it, but it's like completely and totally overhauled every single facet of our existence, such that even me who grew up without the internet can't imagine life without the internet. I think I've joked about that on stream before, where it's like, I don't know, as kids, I don't know how the fuck we ever found or hung out with each other ever. Because like once I leave my house on my bike, I can't know where my friends are. I don't have a fucking phone to call in and check on who's, but somehow we all managed to meet at the same places. We all managed to hang out together. We all managed to travel and get food and go to the right house. I don't even know how. Like when I try to remember, I just don't even know how it was possible. Because you're lost in space. You're like shot out of a cannon as soon as you leave the house. You're untrackable. You're lost to the wilderness. Yeah, the internet has like fundamentally changed so many aspects of our life.
So I think the first thing is
there was that weird dating chart I saw that where so many different ways of meeting people are now just being exchanged for online stuff. This goes to 2017.
Oh my god. Just Tinder's fucking sucks ass. It's possible to. I don't know if I should jump back into Tinder. You don't get anything from Tinder. It's so dumb. I don't know what I did wrong. It's just like everything in fucking life. I have no idea what I did wrong. But it's like online dating, unironically, nothing happens. Maybe I used the wrong app. It's just so dumb.
This is a statistic. I don't know where this study comes from, but like I should like dig into this and look at like real research and see what the actual shit says. But I see like stuff like this posted over and over and over again. That meeting through friends always used to be the most common way. You'd through friends of friends is how you'd meet like dating partners. But this online stuff is just dwarfing like everything. This is the most like extreme one that I saw recently. Oh no, this was the most extreme one I saw recently. This is showing like around 60% of people.
By nothing. I have no idea. Mission Impossible is just so fucking dumb.
People are now meeting online first. I think it's similar to how if you try to go back to pre-fast travel games, it breaks people's brains. Maybe, yeah. No opinion laid it off well. I think people like to watch Destiny because he doesn't understand at all the continuous negative thoughts due to the reality of situations. He always seems larger or happier than life. Okay. I could be like...
I think that's kind of true.
There are a variety of reasons why what I'm about to say could be wrong, namely due to the fact that men don't share feelings with each other. That is possible. But I will say that of all the areas that I've gravitated between in my life, between working poor people, middle class people, and wealthy people, the most suicidal people that I ever knew, ever, were middle class and upper middle class kids. Always. It was always those people. Now, it could be that working poor people are also super suicidal and they just don't talk about it as much, or because in those environments it was a lot of men, so they didn't talk about it as much. But like girls who had double doctor parents or lawyers for families or whatever in high school and college and shit, these were always the people who were talking about suicidal, who were on Prozac, who had all these things that they were talking about. More so than when I worked at like McDonald's or the casino or the carpet cleaning job. I never heard those types of conversations there ever. You kind of just like did your shit and it was just like what life was. Now, but again, it could be that maybe people in those situations just don't talk about it as much and maybe people more in school did. But I know that for a long time, all of these feelings that I have right now, by the way, are completely anecdotally. So I don't have, there's no research. So I could change my mind on this, by the way, in 2 weeks. So be warned. But I feel like, in my mind, I feel like feeling bad. I'm not saying like clinical depression, but in my mind, feeling really shit about your life is the product of two things. It's the product of comparison, and it's the product of, I was going to say boredom, but I would say more specifically like lack of fulfillment. Lack of fulfillment / boredom. Maybe three things. Those feel to me like the biggest products of, or depression is like a product of those things. Not depression, I'm sorry. Feeling really shit about your life, yeah. Because when you're poor and you're working all the time, like if you've got a lot of time to sit around and do nothing, and you see other people advancing in life or whatever, and you're just like kind of unfulfilled and you're kind of bored or whatever, but like all of your basic needs are taken care of, it seems like you're more prone to fall into those thoughts. But I could be totally wrong on that. I think I tried to look this up before because I was curious on the data, and the data contradicted my opinion, because I think the more poor you were, the higher likelihood you had of things like depression. No, but I think the data would technically back that up for suicide, because I think it was older men and people that live on Indian reservations are the most likely to kill themselves. So technically, we're kind of assuming those people are bored or alone, which I think they tend to be, but yeah. Since most people don't have those things in order, and it is very hard to get those things in order, doesn't that make Darky's argument with them not leading lives worth living ring true? I think most people have like things like food and home and stuff in order. In terms of like working poor and struggling, I'm not sure. But it's also weird too, because we're talking about, I think we have to be careful when we conflate things, because right now Dr. K is talking about, I don't know if he's talking about all men or young men. He sounds like he's talking about young men, but when we cite suicide statistics and we look at how men are dramatically killing themselves more than women, I think that's largely because of men over 40. Suicidality by age and gender, I think. Let me see if I can, let's look at this. Deaths per 100,000 resident population by suicide in the US. So the 25 to 44, I hate that banding. I'd much rather see like up to 30 and then 30 to 40 or something. I hate this banding together. How cringe. This is deaths per 100,000 residents. I'm sorry. Can I see this percentage-wise? 50. This would be 54. This would be 54. This would be 40. Okay. So I think like, what would we say? About 70% of all suicides are 45 and older, and then 30% of all suicides are 15 to 44. I bet that this skews up as you get older, but I can't tell, but yeah. This would largely be because of loneliness. That's what I've read that, but I don't think in a study. I think just in articles, that if you're a man, especially if you get divorced or if the kids move out, or your wife or your widow and nothing's going on in your life, you just kind of die because you just kill yourself because you're like, because I think men have a really hard time building social networks and building out friendships and everything, whereas women tend to do a lot better at that. Women do it so much better that if you're a man, one of the, now I'm not gonna say one of the best things, but I think a good thing you can do for your health as a man is just getting married, because men that are married tend to commit less crime, men that are married tend to live longer and healthier lives, and this is probably causally linked, because if you take a man who gets divorced, he'll go back to being unhealthy or having a higher propensity for crime and shit. So it's not just like, oh, well, healthy and men that don't commit crime tend to get married more, although that's probably part of it. But even if you break that link and they get divorced or widowed, then I think that the criminality rates increase and the depression or loneliness rates or suicide rates increase. But look at figure 2. Hold on.
What do I get?
Maybe our definitions of working class are different. A lot of the working class guys I grew up with had extensive criminal records by the time they were 30, maybe a felony. I know so many guys who battled a drug addiction, got clean, started a family, then died at 30 to suicide, or most of the working class people I knew didn't have a ton of felonies. I don't know if I knew anybody with felonies. I think working class and like criminal background are two different things. I don't think those always go together. That's it. You just got caught up in the stream, but isn't being in a situation like starvation, war, etc., different than being in a fucked situation on your own? I guess maybe it feels different. Sure. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Is that really today? I think isolation is comfortable / addicting after too long. You get used to it and change becomes scary. I don't think it's that. I don't think it becomes comfortable. I think that the problem is that there's an uncomfortable hump that you have to get over to break it, and that hump can be paralyzing. There's a name for this. I always reference this. I never look up. I think it's called, is it called decision paralysis? No, I feel like there's a name for this. It has to do with like discomfort preventing you from making decisions. So like if you can measure, it's like if you measure your happiness or something on a graph, fuck this, it would be like, this is where you're at right now. And if you make a decision or if you have to go through some friction, it's going to f up a little bit. But then after you get through this, your life is going to be way better. But this hump right here, or bump or valley, prevents you from ever getting to up here. You won't do this thing because you're going to have a, this just f you. Analysis paralysis? I don't know what it's called. It's hard to break the mold of isolation, incredibly difficult. I feel like the problem with isolation isn't that it's hard to break isolation. Breaking isolation is probably actually really easy. I think the problem is the people that tend to get isolated are that way because of a long life of a lack of development of certain types of skills to not be isolated. Like if you take a relatively social person and you stick them in a new city or some area, they'll probably make friends with you. They'll probably go out and be okay. But if you take like a person who's lived as a very isolated person their whole life, and then you give them like 5 or 10 friends, and eventually they lose those to attrition or whatever over time, they won't make new friends, right? I think the issue is the skills and everything you develop along the way just aren't there for people that are super isolated. And then I think the really difficult thing is once you're out of school and once you're out of like childhood shit where you're forced to be around people, if you haven't developed those skills yet, you're really, really, really fucked. Because now the only friends you could possibly get are coworker friends. And then depending on how your job is set up, you might just be completely fucked. How fast can you learn those skills? I don't know. I feel like you learn those skills over your entire childhood, adolescence. And then if you don't have them by the time you're graduating college or in the work world, you're in dire straits. Why do you think suicides dipped during COVID? I don't know. Maybe the world was more interesting. People had shit to look forward to. It was less mundane. I'm not sure. I would have to see like where they all dipped at too, like what the age range was and everything. Then isn't what Dr. K said making sense if you haven't developed those skills? Yeah, kind of. I feel like sometimes people look at, people have a particular thing they don't like. So in this case, it might be wokeism or feminism, and they want to use that to explain all the ills of the world. So they say, oh, like young men aren't being spoken to by all of these people, which is like kind of true. But I don't think that that's why people feel so horrible, that they just need like a role model in social media. I think it has to do with how rapidly and insanely the landscape of our world has changed. It's changed a lot. The internet and cell phones have fundamentally altered literally every single part of your life. Every single part of your life is fundamentally changed in ways that make it unrecognizable to how we lived, what am I, 35? Even 20 years ago. It's unrecognizable. Like, you don't understand, when we played games as kids, we would like have like a fantasy of like, imagine how sick it would be to have like an actual mini-map in real life, and every single person has one on your phone. Like, stuff like that. You just don't even realize how you can communicate anybody. I could take phone calls out of my watch. Like, your whole life is just so crazy changed. Like, I'm talking to 9,000, 10,000 people right now all across the world on some string. Like, yeah, like everything is just so unbelievably changed. I don't understand how you can say all you've said and still think suicide is always due to mental illness. I don't know if I would say mental illness. I just think that like something is going on in the brain that's not good. Or there's some like bad thought pattern that's happening that somebody needs to break out of. Table 1, leading cause of death in the US by select age groups. Oh, here's where suicide is. 10 to 14? Jesus.
Into what? I don't know.
I guess, as sad and as weird as that is, actually, it probably makes sense. Because from 10 to 14, nothing really should be killing you, right? You're not in very many dangerous environments for people to be killing you, and you shouldn't really be dying of diseases at that age. So I guess it kind of makes sense from 10 to 14 that suicide would be up there, and then unintentional injury would be number 1. How do you think your piano learning would have changed if you would have been diagnosed / medicated for ADHD sooner? Ooh, I don't want to do a cringe ADHD is my superpowered bullshit, but the hyperfocus autistic bullshit might have helped me learn a little piano early on. Because I remember I grabbed the sheet music for, there was a website called OC Remix where you had piano songs, or people make remixes of video game music, and there's a piano song called Genova for classical piano, and I learned that whole song. It was the first song I ever learned, but that was an autistic method of learning. It was literally, because I didn't have any piano background at all, so learning how to like put my fingers and like every single fucking measure, like it was like, that was like the most autistic thing I've ever done in my life. I think it took me like 6 months. It's just the most retarded thing ever. I don't know if I would have done that. If I would have medicated for ADHD, actually, I probably would just learn piano better. I would have started with something different.
It would have been
Maybe.
way better.
Can you still do it now? Play that song? I don't think so. I don't even know the. No, I can't. I can't fuck. If I saw the music, I could probably relearn it pretty quickly, I think, but it would take me a long time. It wouldn't take me a long time. I just said pretty quickly. That was contradictory. I'm just saying words. Fuck it. Okay. You got way more people dying as you get older. Damn. Oh, this breaks it up by age bracket more too. So 15 to 24, 6,500 died of suicide. 35 to 44, 7,800. 25 to 34 is 8,800.
We must reconnect with ourselves, right? So when you're kind of saying like, why does everyone think, oh, I need to like achieve this, I need to make this money and things like that. Where did you learn that you should do all that? You learned all that from the outside.
Instagram,
right? So we get fed all of these ideas because if you look at all these influencers, what are they doing? They're never crying. They're smiling. Some of them will even pay very attractive women to take pictures with them.
Well, some of them are crying, but they're...
This is a super, super true point, and it's really toxic. And again, people do not talk about it enough. It used to be said a long time ago. I heard this like a decade ago. Don't compare your behind the scenes to everybody else's highlight reels. Instagram is not real life. Even the friends you have on Instagram is not real life. Yeah, nobody's life is as good as they show on social media. God, that's so toxic, especially for teenage girls. Holy shit.
crying and uploading it for ulterior motives, right?
Absolutely, and I think a lot of them are genuinely suffering too. But then it's also like, I mean, there's all kinds of weird stuff going on. So one thing is like people say that we don't allow men to be emotional nowadays, but people say, oh, men are allowed to cry. This is something that I experienced even in my marriage, where we allow men to cry, but we don't allow men to be angry. But why is it are men no longer allowed to be angry? Just think about it for a second. So anger is just a completely normal emotion, right? But if I'm in a situation where I'm in an argument with my wife and I feel emotion A and I express emotion A and she feels emotion B and she expresses emotion B, these two things should be equal, right? We as both human beings get to express what we feel. Now, in the case of me expressing anger and her expressing sadness, she's crying and I'm yelling. Suddenly, I become a villain.
It's so
I hate this so much. I hate this so much. I hate this so much, and it's 100% true. In some ways, because of my natural disposition, I can, if I wanted to be a piece of shit, I can get away with a lot more than I should be able to. I don't know if my conflict resolution, actually, now that I think about it, I don't know if it's more feminine or masculine, but in my, depending on how I'm in my mood, but like my form of, if I'm getting upset, the more upset I am, the more I just shut down and avoid. Like, just don't talk to me, get the fuck away from me, go to another room, I don't want to talk to you, right? So technically, I'm never like the instigator of like a crazy scenario, whereas most of the people that I date for women tend to want to resolve problems right now and then become angry. They'll start screaming, they'll start shouting, like, blah, 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 blah. So in some ways, it's easy for me. I've said this a lot in the past, that like, I understand why people get mad or want to hurt me or hit me or whatever. It makes sense because of the differences in conflict resolution, because when somebody's shutting down and you're getting emotional, them shutting down is the worst feeling in the world. So you want to keep amping up the anger until they respond to you. But then if you are a guy and you're shouting at a girl, or like if you're both in an argument and you're upset and the girl is crying and the guy is shouting, the guy is automatically the villain. That is such an unbelievably frustrating dynamic, because anytime you're having a fight around friends or somebody else is witnessing and then the girl is like crying and then you're angry and you're shouting, she's automatically in the right. You lose. You completely have lost. Nothing is more disarming in a fight than a woman's tears. You have no weapon, and now and not only have you lost the fight, you're actually the fucking bad guy. And the most frustrating thing there is that, and this was why so many of mine, the last 2 years with Melina, I repeated this line over and over again, although she never gave a fuck. it never mattered. But I'd constantly say, like, listen, if you're upset at me, you have to talk to somebody else. If we're both upset and you're crying and I'm shouting, I cannot be in a situation where I have to bring all of my emotions under control and then take care of all of your emotions while you're mad at me. I will never be able to. I can't do that. Maybe in 10 years, maybe when I become a wise old six, but I cannot deal completely with everything I've got going on emotionally because I already feel upset about whatever we're fighting about. If we're shouting, we're obviously gotten to that point. The fact that the guy is expected to 100% take care of all of his emotions and bring everything out of wraps and then take care of the woman's emotions, and that usually involves some amount of like admitting you're wrong or seeing their side of the argument more than they see yours, that's way too much. I can't do that. It's like it's a parental role. I hate that. I can never do that. I will never do that. I'll never be with a woman where I have to take care of both ends of the emotions on a fight. I fucking hate that. But if you're the guy again and you're angry or shouting, you're automatically seen as being in the wrong. That's so annoying. Ugh.
So interesting. I saw a viral tweet yesterday. It was someone Googling, my wife is yelling at me, what should I do? And then my husband is yelling at me, what should I do? When they Googled, my husband is yelling at me, what should I do? Domestic violence helpline comes up as like a Google pop-up. When you Google, my wife is yelling at me, what should I do? Nothing comes up.
Yeah.
Because obviously, as you said, in the case of villainization, I know
Wow, Arido, thanks for the tier 5 summer.
that most domestic violence comes from men, but it's interesting that we see the emotion, we interpret the emotions entirely differently because of that.
Absolutely, right? So we as a society will say like, oh, men need to be in touch with their emotions, but not anger. And then this is what really screws men, because as men, we are socialized and conditioned to only feel anger. This is the only emotion you're allowed to feel as a man growing up. And this is the one emotion that gets demonized when you're older. So I'll give you a simple example. So like I used to get bullied a lot, right? So when I get bullied in school, like what am I supposed to do, Stephen?
In school, it depends if you can fight back.
Absolutely, right? It's fighting back. Like you didn't say talk to the teacher. You didn't say ask for help. You didn't say cry about it, because if I cry about it, what's gonna happen, Stephen?
You're gonna get bullied more.
Absolutely. So we turn every emotion. So men experience anger as something called an umbrella emotion. We literally suppress and are conditioned to suppress all other emotions except for anger. And then if you talk
If the girl's shouting and you are chill, doesn't she look the villain as well? I might be biased because of my own life and my own experiences, but no, I think basically no matter what, girls always tend to look better in fights. Unless the girl's literally getting physically violent, but even at that, then she's like barely starting to move the needle. But usually if a girl is shouting and a guy's just chilling there, and like whatever, usually the guy looks like he doesn't care, and people think that the guy's wound the girl up or made the girl feel upset or like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like generally when emotions are getting heated in a male-female fight, I think all the deference almost instantly goes to the woman. It's just frustrating.
to men about their experience of life, anger is always the first thing that comes out of their mouth. Someone breaks up with you, how do you feel about it? Do you feel ashamed? No, that's not what we say. I feel pissed off. How could she do this to me? And then we vent that anger on the internet, and then this turns into misogyny, right? And then we get demonized for it. And it's not that there isn't
one of the things about emotions and feelings too that I feel like isn't talked about enough is it's the same thing that I say about biases. Your goal is never to eliminate your biases. It's true of Stoicism as well, by the way. Your goal isn't to eliminate your biases. Your goal is to be able to recognize them and then control them effectively. The same thing is true for feelings. When you have feelings, you can't always control those feelings. Now, CBT, you can go back and audit your thoughts and maybe evolve over time. But for the most part, you can't like control your feelings. But you can control your behavior in response to those feelings. And when I say behavior, I don't necessarily just mean crying or getting upset. I mean like screaming or shouting or hurting or hitting, right? So if you're a man and you get angry, you shouldn't be hitting somebody or screaming at them, but you can get angry. You can raise your voice. Like, it's fine to have anger. And same thing with a woman. And this is vice versa too. If you're a woman, you can get angry, you can get upset. If you're a guy, you can get angry, you can get upset, whatever. You can cry, you can shout a little, it's fine. It's the actions, the behaviors are the things that you should be focused on more. And one of the big problems growing up, I think, is for women, since crying is like generally sadness, crying is a more acceptable form of emotions, they kind of get more time through development to work through that. Whereas for a man, if you're angry, people don't generally tell you, well, just go hit a punching bag. If you do that, they'll think that you're like unhinged. I think I had a few of those conversations when I was a kid. Sometimes I get mad, I go to my bedroom and I like punch my pillow. And I think my mom got mad at me once for doing that. I was like, it's just a pillow, Mom. It shouldn't matter.
should be harshly judged if we act on those kinds of emotions. I'm not saying that that's the case. But what we also need to consider is that the men who are saying these kinds...
How do you feel about the casual man hate a lot of women have that is socially acceptable, but the other way around is the worst thing ever? I think it's just a reverse. It's like it's a reaction. I understand why women feel that way, especially in response to how it's gone in the past, but like it's swung too far the other way now. It's really cringe. You can't have all these spaces where people are like, yeah, I hate men, fuck men, blah, 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 blah. It's just cringe. It's super, super, super cringe.
...of toxic things are saying that for a reason. This is because of their upbringing. This is because of the world that they lived in, right? So we're conditioned to only experience anger. Even sadness gets turned into anger. Shame gets turned into anger. Fear gets turned into anger, right? So if I'm afraid of something happening, what do I need? I man up, get angry, right? Like, let's go, son, let's go. This is the emotion that we tap into to overcome fear. So we don't feel any of those other emotions, and we're left only feeling anger.
At the very heart of aggression, I had someone say to me once that at the very heart of aggression is some kind of insecurity. but for men, when they encounter that insecurity, they only know how to sort of manifest it as aggression.
So I wouldn't agree with the first thing, that at the heart of all anger is insecurity, but I would absolutely agree with the second thing, that the only way we know how to respond is with anger. Because
Here's the exact quote, just found it. The source of aggression is insecurity. As we are unconsciously aware that our position in life is never secure, people feel increasingly insecure and helpless, so they will be increasingly aggressive and confrontational at a personal and a social level.
I think this is something that I bring up a lot, that I get really upset about Fresh and Fit for perpetuating. I don't know if you call this honor culture, hood mentality, or whatever, but basically, this is how I feel. If you're a man and you are, I don't know how I would draw this. If you're a man and you've got a lot of things going for you in life, you don't really have much to prove. You don't need to act weird or act ghetto or start fighting people or screaming at people, because like, who the fuck cares? Like, you have too much to lose at that point, and you've got like enough to back your reputation. I was like, why the fuck do this? But when you have nothing in life, when all you have is your name or your reputation, things like violence or aggression sometimes might be the only way that you feel like you can stake out a position in the world. And it's the only way that you can get people to respect you, is by showing that you can fight somebody or hurt somebody or whatever, which is cringe. I understand why people without much to their name do that. It makes sense, because when that's all you have, that's what you found, right? But for people to get further up, the ghetto mentality, that should be abandoned. I think that's really cringe. And it does kind of reek of insecurity, yeah.
So let's tunnel down into that for a second. Okay, so I think that is true on some level, but also I would disagree. So the first thing is that we have parts of our brain, even animals feel anger. But I think that like when two dogs are fighting over territory, I don't think that that's born of some kind of identity of insecurity, right? So if we really look at like the evolutionary purpose of anger, this is my opinion, is that anger is the emotion that we feel to protect our territory. It's a protective emotion. So if I slap you across the face, what's the first thing that you're gonna feel? It's gonna be anger. So if I insult you, you're gonna feel angry. It's fascinating the way that it works. So anger causes our thoughts to be faster. Anger causes our peripheral vision to collapse to 30 degrees. So I only see what's in front of me. And it also makes me less sensitive to pain. So like my nociceptors will actually like start to be suppressed when I feel angry, right? So if I get into a fight, I'm gonna feel it tomorrow, but like while I'm getting hit, I'm not gonna feel it. So I don't think it's born of all insecurity. I think anger is simply an evolutionary response. It's something that we experience to protect ourselves. That's why we feel angry, right? So if I attack baby bear, mama bear is gonna come out angry. So it's really a protective emotion. Now, I agree with the second part of the statement 100%, that when we feel insecure, especially as men, the only way we are taught to deal with our problems is through anger, right? So if I'm feeling insecure, if I'm feeling ashamed of myself, someone's bullying me, what do? I put them in their place, right? I don't try to make peace. I don't complain to someone because no one's gonna take me seriously, right? I have to stand up for myself.
So we've got the first point there about how we remedy this challenge, which is about self-expression, more self-expression. That's what I heard.
Not self-expression, introspection.
Introspection, getting to know ourselves.
Right, so it's very simple. So if you
How is it just a ghetto thing? That makes it sound like only black people act ghoulish. I mean, you could call it a trailer park thing too. I'm sure it happens there as well.
look at your idea of what it means to be a man, what percentage of that idea comes out?
Destiny, I know you find it stupid and cringe, but some of us with much to lose would risk it regardless. It's an honor code that you might find ghetto, but it supersedes material wealth. It might supersede material wealth, but it is beneath any other value or virtue that you could have as a man. The easiest thing that a man can do is fight. It is the lowest class, lowest status, least respectful thing that you can ever do in your life. It's one of the easiest things. Men have killed other men through all of human history. Not as many have become educated. Not as many have become leaders. Not as many have been able to take care of their families or protect their loved ones or contribute something to society or do something artistic. Like, fighting is one of the baser, lower, most animalistic, barbaric things that you can do. There's nothing respectful about it. There's nothing impressive about it. More often than not leads to your own detriment and the detriment to people around you. It's selfish. It's not honorific unless you're doing it for sport. It can cause you to not be able to take care of other people around you. Like, it is one of the lower, baser, most unintelligent ways to resolve any sort of thing. Sorry if that hurts or whatever, but that is just factually the case.
True.
The exception being of like people who are fighting for like causes greater than themselves. Like, I would carve out, you know, if you're fighting for your country, if you're in a revolution, if you're in some guerrilla warfare with an oppressive power, whatever, something, then you can carve out things for this. But fighting requires skill to win. No. For street fights, 90% of it is just size, okay? We're being realistic. When you're talking about people fighting on the street, it's not like these guys are like, okay, like, let me get my gi on, or here's my UFC MMA. Most of it is just like big people like swinging their fists at each other or falling on each other. You can watch a million fight videos and see that happening. And then also, too, regardless of how well you fight, 2 or 3 or 4 people are always going to beat the shit out of you. Like, that's just the case. Like, if you're in a society where people are fighting each other, you're not taking on like a crowd of 10 or 20 people. Your pro-social behavior there, your ability to make friends, your ability to be part of a group of people, your ability to
That's what's going to
maintain
get you out
connections
of
to others
it.
is always going to dramatically supersede your ability to fight. Because life is not a series of 1v1s. Like, it's fucking Tekken.
I gotta try out taking.
Side of you. And what percentage of that idea comes from within you?
About 90% comes from outside of me.
And that's why 90% of people.
Size and who can take it, strength versus power versus
Come
endurance.
on,
Yeah,
nah.
most fights are ended with a sucker punch. What are you talking about, dog? Like,
People, we're 90%, right? So, and if you look at, I'm sure you know this, and you've probably done this too. If you look at where is the goodness in your life, where does it come from, Simon? It doesn't come from what other people have told you. They may have told you something, but then you looked within yourself, and then you found that to be true.
Yeah.
The goodness in you, the motivation, the really good motivation in you, not chasing things, but the duty that you have, you know, everything that you really strive for, all that good stuff comes from inside you. And the problem is that we live in a world that pulls our attention away from ourselves.
What do you think of Andrew Tateism then?
So as a general rule, I don't comment on people that I don't speak to.
Mhm.
So tell me the features of what you're talking about.
Okay, so the recent wave of internet masculine influencers who have like Bugattis and
are you trolling a trained wrestler who's half the size of an untrained gorilla man will win? Maybe if you have like ultra extensive training, the guy doesn't have any friends or the guy doesn't have any weapons. Maybe, but like, bro.
Nah.
lots of women and sports cars, and there's many of them. There's many of them, and they seem to be resonant for some kind of reason. That
Also, most people that fight on the street don't have extensive training. It's not like these guys are spending all day in like boxing gyms and then coming out onto the streets to have like their anime battles.
women and sports cars, and there's many of them. There's many of them, and they seem to be resonant for some kind of reason. That are kind of saying that the way to be a man is to have loads of money, lots of women, these kind of cars, physical strength, and there's just this huge sort of generation of young, typically men, that are now disciples of that religion.
Yeah. So I think if you dislike that toxic masculinity, what we need to understand is it's the people who hate that toxic masculinity that are driving these people towards it. So I know this is kind of crazy. So what's happened is this has grown, right? And as it's grown, what have we done? We've demonized these people. We've said these people are bad. And as we demonize them, what's happened? They've grown stronger. So this is something that's very important to understand. If you are a man and you say, I am suffering today, what is the response that you're going to get?
Shut up.
Absolutely.
Not in those exact words, but that's whatever the words are, that's what they mean.
Now, I want us to be very, very careful, right? So if you're listening to Steven say people tell you to shut up, and your first thought as a listener is, no, that's not true, that's the problem. So if people agree with you, they understand what you're saying, but if they disagree with you, that's the problem. We literally have a man who is telling us right now that your experiences when I say I'm suffering, people tell you to shut up. And then people are going to be judging you for...
Fuck, we're not getting into this a lot, okay? Because this is such a cringe topic. I don't know why anyone would consider Destiny an authority figure on fighting. Like,
It's
there's
on
no
the fighting
family out
thing.
there who's like, the wife is at home taking care of the kids, and like the dad comes home and she's like, how did it go today? And he's like, won 3 more street brawls. Oh my God, thank you. I love you so much. You're such a good husband. Great. Like, no, they want their husbands to fucking get jobs and work and be able to provide for the family. What do you, like, I married this guy because he's an undefeated street fighter. That's great. I married this dude because he can work a 9 to 5 for more than 3 years without getting fired. Like, we have a roof over our heads. We don't need food stamps. That's why I married this dude. Like,
saying that, and they're going to be saying, no, that's not true.
They're going to be saying, shut up.
Absolutely. Right? So this is exactly the problem. So men are struggling right now, and the rest of the world says, no, you're not. You're privileged. You're a man. There's a patriarchy. And I'm not commenting on the sociology of it. There is a patriarchy, whatever. Men have many advantages in life. I've experienced many advantages of being a man. It's absolutely true. Let's not go there. I'm talking about the individual experience of men. So there's one group of people on the planet.
at Destiny, you say that your pro-social abilities matter in societies with violence. Don't you see way more that the most ruthless schizos rise to the top in violent societies? Pro-social behavior doesn't even matter there. I don't know firsthand shit about gangs because obviously I've never been in one. But like my guess is going to be that in gangs, there's probably a ton of pro-social behavior. This is why you tend to like wear similar clothes, you hang out with similar friends, you go out and you do graffiti and shit together, you all hang out together. That like my understanding is this was the case with the KKK. I'm sure it's the case with gangs too. That if you're part of a gang, being in a gang doesn't mean that you're like, okay guys, on Saturday we meet at 1 a.m. on this corner and we go gangbang. We go shoot fucking people up and we murder people. Gangs are probably, it's your groups of friends, it's people that you hang out with, it's people that you see all the time, it's people's houses you go to, it's a whole bunch of social behavior that's shared. And unfortunately, for better and worse, there's like violence and drug trade and whatever, depending where you live, that might be a part of it. But a gang is more than just like your combat unit that you sign up to go out and do war with on Saturday nights and then you never see them otherwise. Like,
who says, yes, your life does suck. And that's these toxic masculine people. They're the only people that truly validate men's experiences. Because everyone else says, why are you complaining? And these guys say, yeah, you're a fucking loser. What are you going to do about it? They at least meet you where you're at. And they say, yes, your life is hard, and I will show you a way to make it better. Whereas the rest of the world says, no, your life isn't hard. What are you complaining about? And I've seen this as a doctor. I've seen patients who are complaining about pain, women who are complaining.
Oh, he's taking this side because he can't fight and won't let it make
Nah.
him less manly. Yes. That's actually
True.
what's going on. It's a giant cope, and I realized that the only value that I can contribute to the world is going out to fight people with my fists. And now I'm trying to cope and say that, like, fuck, well, since I don't do that, these other things I have must be better. Listen, whatever you want to think, you can think it, but the rest of the world thinks you're a loser. And even people in your community want you to get out and not be a loser. So, but listen, whatever you think, knock yourself out, my dude.
Complaining about pain because
Or
they
don't knock yourself out, knock your opponent out.
have an internal bleed within the wall of their uterus that cannot get detected. And they're saying, I'm hurting, I'm hurting, I'm hurting, and we ignore this person's pain. And that's when things go bad. So for years and years and years, we have ignored the struggles of men. And there's one group on the planet who accepts them with open arms. And the more that we demonize them, so when someone starts believing this toxic masculinity, what is the response? Do people ever ask, like, help me understand what your life is like? Like, what do you like about this person? Because everyone's going to them for a reason, but we never bother to ask, why are you listening to this person? What does this mean to you? We see these posts all the time in our community. My boyfriend is getting into this stuff. My son is getting this stuff. How do I stop it? Hold on a second. Don't try to stop it. Understand it first. Because everyone's trying to stop it, and no one is bothering to listen to what the experience of these men are. And that's why it's getting worse and worse and worse as we try to stop it.
So if I'm the mother of a son who is watching a lot of these sort of toxic male influences online, what would be a better approach versus just banning the computer and telling them that that's toxic and not to look at it?
Help me understand what you like about this. What is it like to be a man in today's day and age? How do you feel about yourself? How does it feel knowing that 70 to 80% of women want you to make more money than them, and yet 60% of people who graduate from college are women? So men are living in a world today.
I think that number for the women wanting the guys to make more money, I think that's down to around 55% now. I need to look this up, but it used to be really high, but the number has gradually gone down over time as things have changed.
Expectations to meet. And so, like, what is it like to be someone who fundamentally has no chance at success? Like, these are the kinds of
Fuck, it has wings. Alright. I mean, they don't occupy that much. What do we do with the wings? With the wings! Wings are supposed to be gigantic. I don't want it to be like over the blue serpent. Make it bigger. I can have why do I got pinky brain, bro? What the fuck? Problem. Fix that I'm facing. First of all, make the whole image a little bit smaller. A little bit. Scale reason.
things that you need to say to these people. You need to give them an
All
alternative.
right. Now, I make it that the Come on.
Place to go where they can be heard and helped, supported, and understood. See, anytime we make a judgment, our mind already has a conclusion. There's nothing left to learn anytime we're judgmental. So what do we do to all these people who are toxic men? We even create the word toxic. We literally label them as bad in some way. And I'm not saying that the behavior isn't toxic. But what I'm trying to point out is that even in our language, there is so much harsh judgment. So I once had a patient.
We both just did it, didn't we?
Absolutely.
Mm.
So I once had a patient who was smearing feces all over the school. So adolescent kid, right? And when you have a kid who's literally taking a shit and wiping it on the walls and stuff, what happens? The kid gets punished. The kid gets punished again and again and again. The one really sad thing is no one ever asks.
What is happening outside? Is that no? Wait, the microphone probably not even picking. What the fuck is that noise?
Doing this. What's going on inside?
There's like a
Because healthy kids
whimsical
don't
noise
do this.
outside.
It's only kids who've been traumatized in some way. And as I work with incels, as I work with people who are toxically masculine, it always starts with trauma. And when I say always, it is a clinical experience, but I'm talking about 100%. So 100% of people start on this path by getting hurt in some way, by getting taken advantage of in some way, by sacrificing something and not getting something in return. And they have their share of responsibility too. I'm not saying that they're hapless victims, but I think that people who are raised with love and compassion and do have connections don't go down this road.
You're so passionate about this, aren't you? Because I feel like your eyes have seen in your practice some pretty heartbreaking things.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like, see, unless we are willing to be what these people need, they're going to continue going down the toxic masculinity road. Someone needs to start offering these people safe haven. No matter what they say, or not no matter, I think there should be consequences for actions. But so this is as someone who's worked in jail, right? So this is what's kind of interesting if you think about it.
I don't know where's there should be self-help content online. I guess Dr. K kind of does it. There should be more like actual professionals doing the little internet parenting thing. Not actual parenting, but it's like it's a gigantic market. Like we need like good faith, improve yourself, dude. Then like it's such a gigantic market. It's so easy to just be a grifter. I guess they are not taking grifters. Fuck's ass.
People will judge me for talking to or even trying to support people who are toxically masculine. And they're like, oh my God, you're such an asshole. You're giving these people a platform. How could you make the world a worse place? And then I tell them I worked in a jail for 3 months. And they're like, oh, look at you. You're so compassionate. You're working with these people who are like criminals. And like, oh my God. I don't think they realize that anyone you see on social media is 10 times better than the people that I worked with in jail. These are people who are actual pedophiles, actual rapists, right? Not just talking about it. Maybe the people on social media are too. I don't know. And so it's really interesting the way that our mind automatically judges things. And so if we really want to fix this problem, and I think we need to fix this problem, it's just my take. I mean, I'm not a I'm a big fan of like compassion and trying to support other human beings. I'm not saying that that's always the right answer. I think sometimes you may need things like war or violence or whatever. I mean, there may be causes for it. But generally speaking, I think that like demonizing these people isn't working.
Is there anything else that we haven't covered in the remedies to this sort of male crisis?
Why do you think people are attracted more to gotchas like whatever podcast rather than looking for someone like Dr. K that seems to have actual understanding of the subject? It's nice to have like snappy, easy, quick answers to things rather than doing a lot of other work because that is cringe.
And they have the aesthetic. You're gonna impress someone young. You're gonna impress them with Andrew Tate's aesthetic. Probably not this calm Indian guy.
Kind of like why people want, like a fad diet or a fad workout program rather than just like going to the gym or eating less food or changing how you eat. I think people are always drawn towards.
If something's gonna go viral, it's not gonna be clip of Dr. K. Telling you that you should listen to
that kind of stuff. And then there's the added thing now that everything also has to play into whatever worldwide ideology you have. Like every single part of your life is now a part of your fucking political ideology. It feels like that's different than it used to be. I'm trying to think if I'm like recent biasing this or not, but I feel like back in the day, every single thing you did wasn't like a reflection of your political ideology. Like if you went to the gym, that didn't necessarily mean you were a Democrat or Republican, or it didn't necessarily mean you were a soy boy or a conservative alpha male. Like it was just like different people, different things. But now it feels like every single thing in your life has to play into your political ideology. I don't know why, but maybe it used to be like that. I feel like it's gotten worse, but I don't know. Hi, what's up, babe?
Okay. Hi. How are you?
Benny emailed me this morning and he was like, where was it? He said, Steven, how are you? How do you like the air debate? I was sorry it begins with a long, boring speech by Finkelstein, but people tell me we came out okay, Benny. He's such a like boomer when it comes to email. It's kind of funny.
He seemed to enjoy himself.
Yeah, for sure. He
I-
thought
I
it was
often-
a yeah.
I've often noticed when he's sometimes doing lectures and things like that, if he gets kind of heckled, he sometimes gets a bit flustered and like stumbles a bit, but he actually did really well in that, I thought.
Do you think he does he? I saw one where he got heckled recently. And
He
had
said
an
he'd rather
epic.
be a racist than boring.
Yes! What a
Yeah.
great epic Destiny quote. I thought that was funny, but
And that was pretty funny. I was getting very like Frodo and Bilbo Baggins vibes when the camera was on both of you, but you both have the hair as well. But
true.
There was something he said at the end when they said you shouldn't, like, if you don't think international law matters, you can't complain about October 7th.
Oh my god, everything has to go back to Palestine and shit. Oh my god. Shut up. I wanted to fucking listen about men's problems.
I'm only 15 minutes late.
We go from Destiny to more.
Yeah,
we-
yeah. No, I'm not. I'm
Wait, the those has been tiny. Palestine. Confused.
I'm less than 15 minutes late. I'm less than 15 minutes late. Ender Ayanami, it is always good to see you, man. Also, check out Freerun, really good themes and animation. Concept of Ultra Instinct, cool, nice new spin on a, which is pretty insane to think about that they could like Dragon Ball Super Saiyan. You know, like nowadays you do genuinely, like, or at least for a long time you did genuinely hear people saying like, holy shit, he just went Ultra Instinct, or like, I just went Ultra Instinct in this moment and stuff. Like, it did get popularized in general nerd vernacular, which is pretty insane to think about that they could, like, Dragon Ball was able to pull that off again, you know? You're not really gonna hear that with like, I just went Sage Mode, or I just put on my Hollow Mask, or like even Gears. Like, I don't think I really hear people say. I've heard people say like, well, nah, maybe I'm being biased as a One Piece fan, but you know what I mean. Like Ultra Instinct, the fact that they're able to pull that, like, get that, make a bit of a splash pop culture wise with that, to pop culture wise, nerd culture wise with that. Even if it's like a far cry from Super Saiyan, it's still pretty impressive. So if I were to rank the forms, right, I'm going to put gold and blue at the bottom, or sorry, red and blue, God and blue. I'm just going to put them at the bottom. I think they suck, to me. The rest I would put 1 and 2. I like 3 the best. I'm going to be honest. I really like the look of 3. I think maybe people make fun of it because it's just like the
Wait,
hair along
did he say that he prefers saying 3 to 4?
I 1 and 2. The rest I would put bottom. I think they suck. Gold and blue at the bottom, or sorry, red and blue, God and blue. I'm just gonna put them at the bottom. I think they suck.
Garbage.
To me.
True.
The rest I would put
Number 4 is the best.
1 and 2. I like 3.
Super Saiyan 4 is the best. Super Saiyan 1 is the second best. And probably 3.
The best. I'm gonna be honest. I really like the look of 3. I think maybe people make fun of it because it's just like the hair getting long and stuff. But to me,
Nah, 3 is fucking. Nah, he's so wrong. 3 is so lame. Just so weird. I don't get the design decisions for 3. Why is it that way?
3 looks fucking sick. It looks badass.
Nah.
I love 3. Super Saiyan 3 is my favorite form. Then honestly, maybe 4. And then 1 and 2 is a wash.
Maybe 4? How is? Oh, I don't know.
It's like the same thing. Maybe Ultra Instinct to have a little bit around the same.
It's 4 then 1. And the other ones are just kind of mush. Boring one.
Is them maybe a little higher, maybe a little, I don't know. Just 3 is my favorite. I think 4 looks really cool.
True.
This is just design at this point that I'm talking about, not really what they are. Because like writing wise, 2 is probably the best, and then maybe 1, 2 or 1.
Why would you say that 2 is the best? Just because of the Gohan moment? 1 is obviously narrative wise the best.
But design wise, 3,
4 is the best.
4, 2/1/Ultra Instinct, all in the same like area, and then the red one and the blue one, I don't give a fuck. Anyway.
Never happened. Not canon.
Flame of the Spirit, welcome to Pirate King tier. I hope you can look forward to just watch out for next week's Pirate King podcast. It's gonna be a big one. And Lars Caesar, welcome to Pirate King tier. We got a lot of signups for this, so a lot of extra submissions, I assume, for next week's podcast.
What is this guy getting
Next
to?
week before the month. Really
Epic
fucking appreciate it.
discussion.
Okay, first of all, is it confirmed? Can anyone tell me, is it confirmed that we do or don't have One Piece chapters for the next 3 weeks? Do we not have One Piece chapters for the next 3 weeks? Yeah, like, I'm not talking writing-wise. Like, Gohan going Super Saiyan 2, epic, right? Goku going Super Saiyan 1, epic, right? Concept of Ultra Instinct, cool, nice new spin
Lame.
on a series that had
Stinky,
been
no.
doing the same thing over and over, essentially. It's still mostly the same thing, but it's new enough of a spin that it got people talking about it, which is pretty cool. But yeah, just design-wise, is 3-week break confirmed? Okay, it's confirmed. All right, let me give you a heads up, and then I'll keep catching up on supers. And
Bro,
then
what
get
the
into
hell?
things.
3
Also,
weeks?
let's get the Streamlabs up
No
and running real
One
quick.
Piece?
So let me just give you guys a heads up for the 3-week break. I'm gonna be doing some. So Monday streams are always gonna stay the same. All right, Monday streams are always gonna stay the same. What I'm considering doing is streaming. Let me ask for you guys right now. Friday stream best times. During this 3-week break, normally I don't stream on Thursdays/Fridays when you don't have a chapter, but because we're doing it.
Bro, what the There's no way. One Piece 3-week break? What? But all I announced is a 3-week break. One Piece is enjoying quite an exciting phase at the moment as the Egghead Island arc is in its climax. It has been delivering phenomenal channel. It appears that fans might have to wait a bit because the story is going on a break as announced earlier today. One Piece fans are used to going on breaks, however, usually these breaks last only for 1 week. Lately, Oda goes on a hiatus, but it certainly isn't common for him to do this. Earlier today, it was announced that Oda is going on a 3-week hiatus.
Three-week break. That feels a little like, that's some time. I want to keep entertainment going, etc., stream culture going. So I'm gonna be doing, I could do Thursdays. I could stream Thursdays because there's no chapter, or like, okay. Let me frame for you guys everything that I'm thinking. Okay, so if there were chapters, so for example, this week there's a chapter. Normally I'm gonna have to start streaming on Fridays. Most likely Friday midday, 2 p.m., 3 p.m. EST. The latest I could do is probably 4 p.m. EST. Okay? I don't want to do night. I don't want to turn my Fridays into that personally. And you guys probably have shit. Depending on the Friday, some people may have shit to do. Some people may not, right? So I wanted to stream Friday during the day if possible. So I'm thinking about that first of all. And that's going to be the norm for when chapters come out from here. But we've got a 3-week break, so I'm like, for those 3 weeks, should I do those streams on Thursday evenings like I used to do when people were used to chapters coming out? You get what I'm saying? because that's when people are kind of used to catching extra streams. So I'm gonna do a poll right now. So let me make it very, very clear.
Okay, bro.
I'm not necessarily abiding
My man just talking about it.
with other things like I don't know if Shiryu is carrying Absalom's will. I don't know if Bon Clay is carrying the old hag from Wano's will, stuff like that. Blackbeard, but Blackbeard, Whitebeard, that's an interesting little idea. Blackbeard feels still some of Whitebeard's will in the fruit. I don't know. Akash Panda, thanks for the 5. Do you think there was a different way to get powers before Devil Fruits existed, and that is how Emu and the Gorsei got their powers? Maybe Joy Boy too. I don't think so. I feel like Devil Fruits must have been around already during that time. But at the same time, so there's one factor that's being talked about, which is moon stuff, right? So we know that the moon is relevant. We know that we can imagine, we know certain races came from the moon. Maybe there is some other source of, well, now we're getting to Naruto, right?
Uh-oh.
Other source of power from the moon and everything. Well, no, Kaguya, I don't know the Okutsuki exact, what do you call their specific stuff, but, you know, I feel like Devil Fruits are the main one. And I think that that's going to stick with being the case. Because I feel like getting into another power system, you already have Devil Fruits and Hockey, so it's two major things. I don't want another power system on top of that. I guess it wouldn't be a whole new power system, but you know what I mean. Let me catch this real quick. Tom, thanks for being a member for 18 months, man. Always good to see you. What about a stream where we vote on manga for you to read the first chapter of on stream? As always, love the content. Read Kaiji, lots of tension. That would be fun. I'm going to write that down. That'd be fun. Because if it's just the first chapter, I'm cool with it. Because, again, if it's something I'm going to enjoy, like Fire Punch, I assume I'd enjoy Fire Punch, I wouldn't read the entirety of it on stream. Because I want to be able to just sit, relax with it, you know, not feel like I'm having to do reactions. But if it's just the first chapter, it's...
I hate that, man. It's like fucking crazy. This thing. No, stop. Right. Maybe that's a little bit better.
Just dipping my toes. I'd be cool with that, for sure. Then Akash Panda, thanks a lot. Do you think there was a... No, we covered this. Shanks Yak, thanks for the 10. Been a viewer for years now. I was 19 when my mom passed away, a little over a year ago now, and it's been a struggle. Your videos / streams have helped my mind escape, even if it's just a bit. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, man. I'm very sorry to hear that. That's honestly a really young age for you to lose your mom. Yeah, I'm just sorry to hear that. I'm happy to help. Obviously not deliberately, but I'm happy that some of the stuff that I'm able to do is at least able to help or entertain you in some ways. So yeah. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Okay. I think I'm caught up on supers. Okay. Alright, so we can start doing the actual thing.
Come on, March.
Oh, Tala says, Morge, thoughts on Discord surrounding the Sanji and Zoro interaction this chapter? People are arguing between if Sanji was bantering or actually upset since he wasn't talking. I asked that. Like, things about the TV. And, like, fans, I'd already disrespectful friend, thanks for the most entertaining podcast. I was about to say Luffy, but then I'm like, you can only hear a genuine idiot ramble for so long. It would, you know, I think it'd be entertaining for a little bit, and then after a bit it'd be like, okay, this guy doesn't know anything about anything. It would be, I think it might be Robin. It would be none of the Straw Hats. Robin is the only one. Because the Straw Hats are all very simplistic, you know? You listen to, like, you read, like, 10 panels of a single Straw Hats dialogue, and it's going to be generally pretty like, Frankie's going to talk about cola, he's going to talk about how cool the sunny is, he's going to talk about how manly something is or something, right? Like, the Straw Hats mostly, like, Zoro's pretty simple, too. Like, sake, swords, etc. They're mostly in a simple bubble in kind of the way that their dialogue works. So Robin would be cool. I think maybe Dragon would be cool. Robin, Dragon, Mihawk. I feel like these guys could give like some cool perspective on just like Robin's very knowledgeable. Dragon has a lot of like grand views and goals and such. Mihawk seems to have a very interesting perspective on life and growth. I think that those could be interesting. Sanji, Brook, and Nami? No, they just don't have enough to talk about. There's not enough. You couldn't actually list like they're too simplistic in their speech and their interests in terms of what they express. You know. Patrick Kovachev says you say that about Luffy, but that's Joe Rogan's whole bag. Come on now, Luffy's genuinely has the intellect of a 10-year-old, maybe.
I'm ripping off too much of his straight up stream. Not getting in the fucking top.
Chinese man Zhang was found guilty of throwing his 2 children out of a high-rise apartment window on the 15th floor of a residential tower in southwest China, Chongqing.
God damn.
The Independent reports that Yi, Zhang's girlfriend, was also convicted after the court determined that she coerced Zhang into often the 2 young children. The children, a 2-year-old girl and a 1-year-old boy, reviewed by Yi as an obstacle, and she aided in staging their deaths to appear as accidental falls. Also reports that Zhang and Yi, a Chinese couple, have been executed by lethal injection on Wednesday. This punishment follows the recent approval of their sentence by China's top court, as stated in China Daily. The reason for the crime was to enable Zhang and Yi to start a new family together.
God damn.
Listen, after Jackie Chan, this is probably the most base thing China's ever done. So because they want to start a new family, they got rid of the 2 kids. Let's hear. According to a New York Post report, Zhang started an affair with Yi without informing her that he had 2 children from his early marriage. Zhang had divorced his then-wife Chen Meilin in February 2020. However, he was pressurized by Yi to take the life of his own children. In the video shared on Chinese social media, Zhang appeared grief-stricken because of the act he committed. As per the outlet, the man was also seen sobbing uncontrollably and banging his head on the wall.
Well, we don't know if it was highly publicized, but they know that.
Oh, wait.
What?
So the mom isn't even like... The real mom isn't like passed away.
No. He had a relationship with her and had an affair with the second girl. Divorced that girl when that happened.
Bro,
had
I
the
thought
kid.
this guy was at least a single dad. Just leave it with the mom. You dumb fuck.
No.
That's crazy.
Bye. They really.
Oh, where's that? I don't even have my phone charger. Shit.
Really did that.
Yo.
They really did that. But, maybe. No, I have nothing. I'm about to say, well, maybe the mom couldn't take care of that. No, it's a no for me. So, yeah.
What was the maybe?
This
Maybe
guy's screaming
one.
and making some public outing. Oh, man. Seeing the picture of the kids is wild.
No, I'm not doing
Bro,
that.
how do you look at these two? Yeah, look at it. Why, you want to see the human faces of people who are tragically hurt? Why not?
Don't want to do it.
Why?
Just don't want to do it.
You don't want to imagine them as real people?
I already have hate for this guy. I don't need to add more on top of that. You know what I mean?
I think it's
Like,
good to humanize people that were hurt.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine.
You know, right now they're just kids, but there's no faces to them. You can't even imagine.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Well, that's why.
I'm really good. I don't need to.
It's not their bodies. I'm not
It's
showing you.
fine.
One of the swings
It's
said having a good
fine.
time.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's really fine.
Chen Mei Lin, the children's mother, said that Zhang had asked to take care of his daughter on the day he killed them both. So he was trying to spare one of them? What? So he went to the moms to take care of her on the day that he was going to do it. He was going to do it to the son only.
Nah, listen, the more you read, the worse it gets. Oh my God. Nah,
Do you want... Okay, this is crazy.
just say it.
Okay, so this man was on a video call with Yi, his girl. She started slitting her wrist, and then he threw the kids off. Because she's like, if you don't do it, I'm off myself. Hey, yo!
Oh, hell no.
That's crazy. It don't make anything he did forgivable. It don't make anything he did forgivable. That woman is an extra level. He's already at the... She said, I'm off myself. Nah, bro. And the mom says, I couldn't imagine what my kids had experienced from the 15th floor to the ground. Were they desperate? Were they afraid? That last detail was nuts.
There's not much. I don't
Not
have
the
much to say.
brightest bulbs in the shed
No.
to start. Obviously, whatever this planet is.
Well, they're not bulbs. They're garbage.
But imagine just like wanting to start a new family so bad that you would kill infants. You guys are already the worst people I could ever see. It takes something really special to be like, all right, these kids are an inconvenience. I'm going to chuck them from a 15-story high building. That is insane. You got to be some different level of sociopathy. That is special. And for two people like that to find each other and accept it, like the dad got to look at the kids and say, I'm doing it, which as a father is crazy. But for the girlfriend to also come into someone's life, see two kids and be like, throw them off a balcony. I don't know. And look, this might be completely insensitive, but I do know in China for a long time they had a policy in regards to like the one-child rule in terms of like one girl or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's a different approach to children in some parts of the world. Actually, no, I know there is. In some parts of the world, there are definitely a different approach to children because children are not these cute things to be protected. They are hands that are going to be working the fields very early. They are your legacy purely. Like some people, like the relationship with their children, it's just different. So maybe this is obviously not everybody in China is just throwing their kids off balconies or feel similarly. But I'm just trying to say maybe the approach is different for that. Kids are such a status symbol, and being married to somebody who already has kids from another marriage, maybe it's so not well seen that maybe it's an issue.
If it's not seen the same way, but that's how they treat people who did that, that means that it's still a no for them. It's still a huge no for them. So yeah, they might see kids differently, but if you throw your kids off the balcony and off them, well, we need to get rid of you too. If that's how they think, which I ain't got nothing to say about that.
Yeah.
I have nothing to say against that.
If you think because of the sentence that they don't support that?
No, what I'm saying, I don't think, no, I don't, because of the sentence, I think they don't, even if they, what I mean by that is this, because you're saying that in some other countries, they regard children, the relationship with children, as something else.
Mm-hmm.
Even if that's true, they did, and that makes it even worse. Even with their relationship, their different relationship with children, being a little bit more distant, they still felt like, oh, no, you gotta go. You gotta go. We don't feel the same way that they feel in other countries about children, but
yeah,
you did that, you have to go. And I agree. I don't agree much with China, but that,
see, the thing is,
that's a no-brainer.
Let me just look this up for you. I want to know if this is highly publicized. And the reason why I'm saying that is sometimes some places don't act because they inherently think what happened is wrong.
Oh, no, they just act
because it was publicized, right? So I know places where honor killings, but if it gets enough public scrutiny,
then they're going to do something about it.
Right.
Oh, this is what people care about? Oh, let us act accordingly then. We don't want to file the paperwork, but we'll do it for that because people care, apparently. Yeah, that's what you're saying.
Hold on. Okay, so here's a bit more context. Again, I'm just giving theories. I don't believe that Chinese people are just like, oh, throw your kids off. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just saying, for some places, the idea of having kids going into a new marriage or a new relationship is so not well seen that culturally maybe it's more understandable. That's all. I just couldn't. There's literally nobody on this planet that could ever make me consider doing that to my own kids, let alone someone else's kids. I could never. I don't care who it is. If they say I'm gonna slit my throat if you don't throw these little babies off, I'd be like, then you just gotta go, bro. I just can't. Maybe you guys.
When it's lovely, I believe in anything. What does love mean when the end is rolling in? Let it go, let it stay. Can we love one another? Cold, is it safe to be warm in the summer? Who knows? I said, who knows? Teach me to love just to let me go. I can't believe that I'm not enough. Not enough. It's so long. No one will be here to save you, and no one will be here to let you know. Let you know. This is your world. This is your quietly still in a lie. Oh, good night. I don't mind. Teach me to love just to let me go. I can't believe that I'm not enough. Not enough. No one will be here to save you, and no one will be here to let you know.
Mm-mm-mm. Hmm. was Mm. What is other creature I have? I don't have big creature. This guy. Or maybe this golem guy.
Okay,
I gotta check more One Piece.
so I was going.
Can't wait. There's gonna be a fucking 4-week. Is it a 4-week? Month without One Piece right now.
Going back through some of the older videos I've made about the Gorosei, and in the very first dedicated video I've ever made about them, way back in 2018, I said this. And would you believe that I actually have secret information that one of them is in fact an alien? Whoa, what was that? One of the Gorosei is going to be an alien? I was just messing around. There's no way that could be the case. Okay, so in the very last chapter, chapter 1110, we get the big epic double page spread to end all double page spreads, where we see all 5 of the Gorosei. Okay, I guess that's kind of redundant because, you know, it's like saying all 4 of the Yonko, all 4 of the 4 emperors, all 5 of the 5 elder planets, so whatever. All of the Gorosei were present, and we got to see all of their full beast forms, okay? And what do we got there? Well, we have a giant yokai spider, we have a giant yokai skeleton horse, we have a giant yokai bird, we have a boar from Chinese mythology, and we have a sandworm. Now, a lot of people have brought up, hey, the sandworm thing isn't just from Dune, you know, there's other giant... I gotta make a whole video about the Mongolian deathworm, which is like a cryptid from the Gobi Desert in Mongolia, which is also probably the origin of the Alaskan bullworm from SpongeBob. I mean, I guarantee that's probably where they got it from, right? But I was reading up on it, and it seems to be that when it comes to the term sandworm, yeah, there might be other giant worms in mythology, folklore throughout the centuries.
Okay, maybe I can fit this guy. Do actually doing right now. In the front, the back. Caleb, now we have the 3 guys. They don't have flag. This guy. Guys with this guy. I think he's this big. Like, so 2 people. Over.
That term, sandworm, originated with Dune, in which case it is a giant worm that lives on another planet, therefore making it an alien. I just messed up. I made Jay Garcia Saturn the alien. I should have made it be Shepard. It was like alien the whole time. It's just like, oh, yes, you think Saturn was the alien. I was truly the alien the entire time. He'll never suspect. It's like, all right. Okay, so we got the Gorosei's forms, at least their full animal forms. We haven't seen all of their hybrids yet. I guess we've only seen Saturn's hybrid form and Ethan Baron Venus Juro's hybrid form. And so we're going to be talking about most of their powers today. I mean, some of them, like Top Man didn't even do anything. Top Man just showed up, turned into a giant boar, and just hung out in the background, I guess, and just like, all right, guys, Mars can fly and Ethan can run really fast and Peter can turn into a giant worm and burrow underground and Jay has a bunch of legs for him to move around and I'm just a boar. I'm just a pig. I can't really do much. I'm just going to hang out here, right? I would assume Top Man's main ability. Let's open up with him because he's the one we know the least about. Might as well start with him. I'm going to assume when it comes to Top Man's Hokey form, like the big giant boar, probably just sheer destructive power. There's really probably not a lot of other abilities going on with this. Like Jay can use, I'm just going to refer to them like their first names. They're not their first names. They're actually their family names, I guess, even though that sounds weird to me. Like Ethan Barron is his family name, which is strange because it feels like their planet names should be their family names to me. I don't know. And then you have their last names, which sound like first names in English. So like Ethan, Peter, Jay, Marcus. Like Marcus is his family name, I guess, which is strange to me. Anyway, so yeah, Jay can use poison. Ethan can run really fast in his skeleton horse centaur form, and he can use ice. I'm thinking Top Man is just like running into things really hard and just obliterate everything in his path. Like everything will be stomped into pieces by this mighty giant boar. Also, a lot of people have drawn parallels to the mountain god from the mountain god incident way back in Wano when Odin sliced a giant boar in half. So who knows? Maybe Yamato will slice up Top Man at some point. It might happen. I don't know. But yeah, giant boar guy. That's all we know about him so far. Maybe he'll do a mean belly flop. He'll like just jump up on everybody, and just be like, boom! You will believe that pigs can fly when it comes to Top Man war cry. I had to stretch that to make it rhyme. It's more of like Valkyrie, not war cry. But I remember that was one of the original interpretations, translations was like war cry instead, which does sound really cool. Which it just comes back to Mercury, but whatever. Okay. And actually, you know what? Mercury and Hermes were the messengers of the gods. So that boar might actually move really fast. Who knows? The boar might be able to fly, like Hermes' mighty sandals that could fly around. So that pig might fly. Don't throw anything off that yet. Like we saw Mars fly up in the Itsumare form. So we'll talk about that next, right? Giant bird thing attacked the frontier dome, hit the barrier, and just exploded. Just let out a cry and just yeeted itself into a window. So very much like a bird, I guess. Now, a couple of ways I've had this described to me of like how he's going to get through the barrier. Like it's already a foregone conclusion. He's going to get through the barrier. Vegapunk's science is pretty damn good. It was able to block one of the first attacks from a Gorosei, but they're going to figure out it. Like if Luffy can finagle his way into that thing, the Gorosei are going to figure out a way through it. Some people have said that when the Itsumare crashed into the barrier, it's going to get nuked by the lasers on full power and just turn it into ash, and then the ash is going to fall through the barrier. And then in a similar vein to the Phoenix, not exactly, but just because they can't die or they can regenerate through other means, like it's clearly regeneration through like mystical, magical means through their devil fruit power. So the ash or like the old charred pieces of the bird are going to fall through the barrier, and then they'll like reconstitute themselves there, and then boom, the bird is inside of the barrier at the labo phase. Or another way to look at it is maybe just progressively like slamming into the barrier over and over and over again. Eventually the barrier will weaken at that specific point, and then eventually Marcus will be able to get through and invade the labo phase. But it's okay because we have Zoro there, we have Jinbei there. Zoro just finished off Lucci in a pretty abrupt fashion, and so Jinbei just arrived. So at the very least, I'm not worried about Marcus Mars like eliminating all of like Usopp is there, Nami is there, and everything. But yeah, Zoro and Jinbei will be able to at least fight him off for a little while there. We'll get to see Zoro up against one of the Gorosei. That's going to be really fun to see. Now the Itsumare's ability, at least in most ways I've seen this described to me in mythology, is its cry. It lets out this really chilling, eerie, otherworldly screech that apparently can cause illness and disease, and it's not very fun, okay? So I could see that now. I could see this thing letting out a giant screech to try to like paralyze or immobilize Zoro or Jinbei, or maybe all of the Straw Hats will like freeze up. Maybe Brook won't, because Brook is undead already, so maybe things with Brook don't work the same exactly. It's like, can Brook be blinded? He can see. Brook can 100% see. But if Kizaru showed up in front of him and like blinded him with a super bright light right in his face, would Brook be blinded? Because he doesn't actually have eyes. He doesn't have corneas. There's no nerves here. He's just a skeleton. Yoo-hoo-hoo-hoo! So maybe Brook would be like, oh, I am blind. Oh, I would be blind if I had eyes, which I don't because I'm dead. Yoo-hoo-hoo-hoo! So it's like he can still see and hear, but he doesn't see and hear, I think, the same way that like organic beings here. I guess bones are technically organic. He is still organic. He's not a machine, although, yeah. So maybe Brook would be immune to some of this, right? But yeah, I think he's going to have some kind of screech ability. So far with the Gorosei, we know Jay uses poison. We know Ethan is ice. Maybe sound will be the focus of Marcus Mars in his bird form, okay? Maybe raw physical power with Top Man, and then we only have the Sandworm left, which is obviously like ground abilities, digging around and stuff like that. You gotta try to compartmentalize the Gorosei into Pokemon types. That's the best way to make this make sense. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you all know what I'm saying, right? Okay. Moving on to Ethan Baron V. Nusjuro. So Ethan, just Ethan. We'll just call him Ethan. That's the name he uses at the office. Okay. I hesitate to say this so far because we have really yet to see what all of the Gorosei are truly capable of at like maximum power and everything like that. But Ethan might be the strongest, or at least his abilities are the most unique to me. Don't get me wrong, the giant sandworm is plenty interesting. I want to see where that goes. But Ethan turning into a skeleton horse with like an executioner's hood, like that's terrifying, okay? That's really badass and really cool, okay? Aside from that, Ethan himself has always been one of the more interesting members of the Gorosei. The way he dresses is different, his appearance is different. He's got clearly the Shodai Katetsu, which is, pretty damn cool. One of the Saijo Owa's monograde sword that this has been established for a long time now. And we got to see his hybrid form as well. We got to see him go into his centaur form, which is probably the form he was in when he fought Sabo, because the silhouette when he went into that form to fight Sabo, like, it clearly looked like a human. So it's like, oh, okay, we just didn't see the lower half of his body, so he was still, like, the upper half was him, okay? So, a lot of stuff, I think, mostly to unpack with Ethan, because I think Oda kind of focused on him the most in the chapter. So he goes into the horse form. He had some kind of ability, which it might just be really high-spec observation hockey, or it could be something specific for the mythical zone. But he had some kind of ability to immediately lock on to like all of the pacifista that were surrounding the island, exactly where they all were. Like I said, if it's just observation hockey, that's all it is. It's just like, oh, I've opened up my N into the island, and now I know where everything is. Or if it's something more clairvoyant, like divination, like kind of Charlie's fortune telling, that is even more dangerous. Okay, because they're clearly different kind of abilities. But and anyway, yeah. So he knows where they all are. He made no wasted time or effort. He just immediately starts running down the entire island, and I think half of the pacifistas on the shore of the island were just annihilated in a matter of seconds. I mean, he moved so damn fast. The Marines that were actively watching from the shore couldn't even tell what was happening. They're just like, all the pacifistas, they're dropping down. Oh, there's another one. Oh, there's another one. What's going on here? I think I saw a horse. I don't know what's happening. They had no idea what was even going on, how fast he was moving, okay? And the way that he was taking them out was he took out his sword, which we assume is the Shodai Kitetsu, and added armament hockey to it, so it became a black sword. Now, there were shots earlier in the manga where we do see Ethan Baron's sword out of the scabbard. He's like cleaning it or whatever in the Room of Authority. And yeah, it's not a black blade. So it's not like Shusui. It's not like Yoru. It's not a permanent black blade. He was clearly just adding hockey to it. Now, let me pause for a moment. Let me talk a little bit about this. So when it comes to the Gorosei, I've mentioned before, a lot of people have mentioned, like, maybe they're not devil fruit users, maybe they are actual yokai, and there's that debate right now, like, because they were not introduced as, like, J. Garcia Saturn has the power of the Gyuki mythical zone. No, he was just introduced as a Gyuki. And Saint Shepherd Jupiter was announced as a sandworm, not mythical worm fruit model sandworm or anything like that. No, it was just sandworm. Okay, so making me start to think that like maybe they are actual yokai, and then that gets to the whole thing where it's like, all right, are their power systems going to be different from devil fruits? Are they still weak to water? Like, what's going on with that? Oda established a lot of power systems in One Piece. We have the devil fruits, we have the 3 different kinds of hockey and everything like that. I'm not saying I want the Gorosei to be completely beyond all of those power systems. Like, if they don't have devil fruits, they have something beyond devil fruits. Oh, they don't use hockey, they use something beyond hockey. I don't want it to be like introducing brand new systems just for the sake of the Gorosei and no one else. But I will say that you could do a thing where, yeah, they are actual yokai, and mythical zones are based off of those original yokai. So maybe they are still weak to water, maybe they have the same kind of similarities and weaknesses and also strengths of mythical zones, but they're just like the originals. That's where they came from, okay? Something like that. Because they still got the fog ribbon, which is indicative of a lot of different figures in Japanese lore and everything like that. We saw that around Luffy and Gear 4th, and then all the Awakenings seem to exhibit that, at least the mythical zones. We saw that with Lucci. I'm guessing Marco also. We don't know if Marco was awakened, but he probably was. Marco, just being a phoenix, might have had like the flame ribbon, might have been close enough. I mean, we didn't see it, but it could be implied to be there. Or maybe Marco wasn't awakened, we just didn't know. But I feel like he should be. So anyway, more importantly though about Ethan is that he's clearly some kind of undead being that, because it just skeleton horse is Bokotsu in Japanese, right? And so he's clearly some kind of undead being that uses ice powers. Wonder who that reminds you of, right? Okay, so Brook has the power of the Yomi Yomi no Mi. He dies, he eats the fruit, then he dies, and his soul leaves his body, goes up to the afterlife, and they're like, nope, sorry, we're full, you gotta go back down. Throws him back down, goes into his body, and now the true power of the Yomi Yomi no Mi, as we've explored, is the ability to manipulate souls, and even more so than that, the ability to channel the power of the underworld into yourself. So yeah, Brook can control and manipulate souls to a degree, but then he has the ice powers, which aren't really related. I mean, they are related to his soul, but it's more related, like the way that Brook explained it was like, the cold power of the underworld is channeled through me as like the avatar of that. I am the conduit between 2 different worlds, and I use the ice powers from the underworld. It's not your normal kind of ice. It's really kind of like mystical, spiritual, like occult kind of ice kind of situation we're going along with right here, okay? And then Ethan is doing the same kind of stuff. So yes, while I very much want Zoro to fight against Ethan, in case especially if he has the Shodai Kitetsu, obviously we need to see that, swordsman, but hey, Brook is also a swordsman. People forget this, Zoro might be the main swordsman of the Straw Hat crew, but Brook is easily the number 2 swordsman of the Straw Hat crew. I mean, granted, the Straw Hat crew only has 2 swordsmen, but still, you know what I mean? He's number 2. Brook is a solid number 2, all right? So, with that being said, I want to see Brook jump on the back of Ethan and ride him around like a horse. Like, we gotta see that. I just want to see Brook's reaction. Like, Brook's reaction to be like, oh my god, it's an undead horse! This is terrifying, guys! It's like, you're a skeleton. It's like, oh, that's right. Or he could, like, see him and get angry, like, you took my character! No! He takes out his icy sword, soul solid, and then Ethan takes out the Shodai, and they clash. And it's like the powers of the underworld manifesting in this one moment, like, whoa! Something's going on. Hades wakes up downstairs, and he's like, what? Huh? What's going on? Would you guys knock it off down there? My god. Something like that. Like, real kind of esoteric abilities getting involved here. All right? Like, yeah. So, clearly there's a similarity. I'm really glad if Oda ties that back. Like, the idea that he dropped all that information involving Brook and souls and the afterlife and the underworld. Like, all that stuff canonically exists in One Piece, and it's never mentioned beyond that. Like, right here, right now, like, Oda maybe brings it up even more so. Like, Ethan might know way more about the underworld. Like, he might have been there and clawed his way back up or something. I don't know what it is. But it's damn cool, I'll tell you that much, right? Okay, and then who else do we got? Well, we have St. J. Garcia Saturn, but we've already talked a lot about Saturn. Gyuki, another name for an Ushioni, cow head, spider body, and uses poison. Uses the spider legs to, like, attack with various poisons. Also seems like the spider legs can bend and twist in a very similar way to, like, Luffy's Gamu Gamu no Mi, where it can, like, spin around and, like, attack. So, really, I mean, it's a cool ability. I'm sure the poison and the acid that he's using, because it, like, melts anything it touches, I'm sure is a lot more corrosive than Magellan's poison or Caesar's poisons or anything that he could cook up or anything like that. It might just be a situation where anything that comes in contact with this poison, whether it be organic or inorganic or whatever material it's made out of, will just dissolve and be destroyed. Just like corrode away. It doesn't matter if it's like tungsten, titanium, anything. It'll just gone. Okay, so you definitely don't want, like, Luffy should definitely avoid getting a straight-on piercing from one of those spider legs. You know, definitely avoid that. But we've seen a lot of Saturn so far, and it seems like from the last chapter, Saturn's going to continue fighting Luffy. And then we have Top Man, who's the boar, and then we also have the last of the Gorosei, or maybe the first of the Gorosei. We have Saint Jew Peter. We have Saint Shepherd Jew Peter, who has the power of the sandworm zone, or just maybe a sandworm, okay? So he's giant sandworm, physically largest out of all of the Gorosei, I believe. I think Top Man's also really big. The Itsumade is really big, but the giant sandworm is a giant sandworm. Giant mouth that just yells a lot and like jumps into the ground and can burrow through the ground really quick, and then come right back up and tries to eat Luffy. You know, and so that didn't work out very well because then Dorian Broggy showed up and decapitated the worm. How do you decapitate a worm? I guess you can't really. Well, no, I guess it has a head technically, but like this is anime manga we're talking about here. For all we know, this could be a thing where like the top head is a head, but also the bottom part is also a head, and like an Ouroboros thing could happen. Like who knows? Anyway, we now have what the current scoreboard is. We currently have Luffy in gear 5th, and we have 2 giants. We have Dory and Broggy, and now we have 3 of the elder planets also present here. We got Jupiter, we got Saturn, and we got Mercury. Okay, so 3 on 3, if nothing else, right? Now, unfortunately, Luffy's power is not going to last like a long time. Like, yeah, he was able to replenish his power and everything like that, but you know, he's not going to be able to stay in gear 5th forever. And we know that there has a hard time limit with that. Absolutely. Dory and Broggy, I mentioned they might run out of stamina, but a lot of people brought up like, hey, they've been literally fighting on Little Garden for over 100 years at this point. I think in terms of stamina, I think they're good. It's like, yeah, okay, that's fair. So yeah, I kind of just want to see them all brawl. So it might be like the next chapter might be like Straw Hat Pirates, or it might be like I'm not even just the Straw Hats because Dory and Broggy are there, but maybe just like pirates versus the Elder Stars, or pirates versus the planets, or something like that. Would be really cool, right? So we see those 3 fighting against the Gorosei down there, and then we see Zoro and Jinbei fight against the Itsumade, Marcus Mars, and then the last remaining member is Ethan, who's just running around the island eliminating the pacifistas. After he is done finishing off the pacifistas, their main goal, their main objective, and the reason they were all summoned there at once is we need to get to the Labo phase and find that message and destroy it. That is their main ultimate goal. So after Ethan is done running around the island destroying all the pacifista Mark IIIs, and it's like, okay, all the pacifistas are taken care of. Oh, eliminating Bonnie too. That's also another big one. And Bonnie is still on the fabrication phase, so Ethan might be heading toward Bonnie. I was going to say Ethan might, after finishing the pacifistas, jump up to the lab phase, but Marcus is already up there. But however, it might be better to have more than one. So it's like, yeah, Jory Bonnie commanding all the pacifistas is a threat, but if all the pacifistas are disabled, then she's not a threat anymore. You know, she can't command any of the pacifistas if they're all disabled, right? So Ethan might not care about Bonnie. The more pressing issue is the message, you know, even more so than Bonnie having the total hierarchical control over everything, right? So Ethan, eliminate those, and like, all right, I'm gonna go help out Marcus. We gotta make sure this is eliminated. So then he might jump up to the Labo phase. Maybe Top Man. I'm really convincing myself that pig can fly at this point. It's just like, it's Mercury, he's a boar, pigs fly. Top Man can fly. He's also top. He's on top. That pig can fly. I'm telling you right now. I was kind of right about the alien thing. I'm right about this. That pig can fly. All right, you watch it. Anyway, so then we might just have those 3 all go up to the Labo phase. And like Saturn, you know, Saturn and Shepard, you guys, you know, Peter and Jay, you take care of the giants, and Luffy, we're going to go up there and deal with that. So then maybe Luffy just takes care of Saturn, and then you have the sandworm against Dory and Broggy, right? Maybe digging holes and jumping out, and like, it's like they're trying to play whack-a-worm with that damn thing, you know, could be something like that. And then the Straw Hats up in the Labo phase, I mean, they're going to have some problems on their hands. Like, they're going to have to escape as quick as possible. Even Sanji was like, you know, get out of there. You know, we don't know what's going on, but just leave. Don't worry about us. Just get the hell out of there. So this is absolute and utter chaos at this point. I think at this moment, it would probably be best for like Usopp's group with Chopper and Nami and Brook and everybody to just leave the island, just get out and just starting to make ways for Elbaf. You have the giants that are evacuating Atlas and Bonnie and Kuma and Frankie. They leave the island at the same time. So at least you start having some of the Straw Hats getting off the island, because at that point it could be like, you know, I mean, honestly, if Luffy's gear 5th fails, Dory and Broggy could probably just grab him and just be like, you gotta live on, Straw Hat, yeet, and just throws Luffy, just throws him off the island, and one of the other giants catches him. We could do that. Zoro and Jinbei, they'll be fine. Jinbei can swim really fast, so, you know, he can jump in the water with Zoro, just, you know, get to the boat is what I'm saying. So yeah, some of the Straw Hats just need to start evacuating just now. Okay, we just gotta get out of there. Make sure to pick up Kaku before you go. You gotta make sure to go into the lab. Like, oh crap, we forgot Kaku. Kaku's just in the lab still with York chained up to the thing, and just, I don't know, maybe he's playing some cards with her or something. If they had, you know, Kaku's like, oh, thank God I had some deck of cards in my pocket. Like, okay, he's like doing that and playing solitaire with himself. I don't know, but you got to pick up Kaku. All right, you absolutely have to, right? But yeah. If most of the Strides get out of there, Luffy can catch up, and Zoro and Jinbei, they're together. Zoro won't get lost if he's with Jinbei. It'll be fine. And then Sanji can skywalk off the island. Yeah, Sanji, where is Sanji headed right now? Because Sanji, like, I guess to save Bonnie, right? Because everyone's targeting Bonnie because she was the hierarchy. So it's like, okay, I'm gonna pick up Vegapunk. I guess the original idea was to get Vegapunk some help, but he might be dead. So it's like, okay, well, you know, you're dead now. I'm holding a corpse. I might as well get to Bonnie and the other giants and get out of here as well. Or he might leave the Stella with Atlas, and then he might be like, okay, you guys are all right. Oh, maybe Sanji might fight Ethan. Well, fire powers against ice. That could be cool. That actually I think makes more sense, especially if Ethan is going to go after Bonnie or try to go up to the Labo phase. Either way, he's going after either Bonnie or Nami or Robin are up there, and so Sanji might be like, no, I'm gonna stop you here, okay? So the way it's stacking right now, and this might not be perfect, like I said, not accounting for pigs and whether or not they can fly or not, but one of the ways this could shake down is Ethan versus Sanji, Luffy versus Jay, Dory versus Peter, Broggy versus Top Man, he doesn't really have a normal name, and then Zoro, Jinbei versus Marcus. one of the ways that could shake down, okay? But yeah, if Sanji's running off and then Ethan's also around the island, like those two might run into each other there. We'll see how that goes. Anyway, thanks for watching the video, everybody. Just wanted to give a quick overview of what we're dealing with here, all the powers that are in front of us, and how Straw Hats are going to get out of this one. So yeah, looking forward to some fights here. I don't know how much longer the arc's going to go, though. Like setting up a bunch of fights right now, like they're not going to be finished. The fights are not going to reach conclusion. It might just be 1 or 2 chapters of these fights really quick just to see what the Straw Hats are capable of against the
1
Guardians.
month. Oh no, 1 month without One Piece. What
Anyway,
the
thanks for watching,
shit,
everybody.
bro?
We'll be checking Sanji at the end screen. There it is.
Man! I live in fucking society. What? No. No, I'm so emotionally drained recently. The new symptom, fucking mental illness has evolved. Mm. Hold on a second. What is this? I don't know if these are supposed to be jeans. How did I lose my? How did I lose the music? For what? Oh. Hmm. Where was this thing? Alright. Really, I don't know, this is really the design that I want. Riley. No, you're like slightly to the side. Why are you different? Let me move this. Okay. No! Come on, bro. Slightly. Just a little bit. Oh my. Why? I. No. I'll be leaving. Nah. Okay, stream. Okay, productivity. A lot of things to get ready for the next Inky animation. And some concept entries for the rookies contest. Okay. Thanks everyone who checked the stream. I'll be back. I don't know when. Bye bye.
Bye bye.